Hello children, in this class we will discuss value education lesson for the iron balance. The value taught is being fair to all. In our previous class we have discussed lesson 3, warming up. Being fair means doing the right thing. By being fair we do good to others. Do you indulge in a fair play? Do you justice to all if you are asked to distribute something amongst your friends or cousins? Read the story to find out more. So we will read out a story. The value taught of this story is being fair to all. Being fair means doing the right thing to others. Okay? So we should do good to others. Let us discuss the story. Dhampur was a small town in which lived two very good friends named Raju and Ratan. There was a village which was known as Dhampur in a small town, and two good friends named Raju and Ratan lived in Dhampur. They often helped each other. So Raju and Ratan were good friends. They used to help each other. One day Raju bought some grains from the market. He wanted to weigh them. He thought, how should I weigh them? I need an iron balance. So, one day what happened? Raju bought some grains. So he wanted to weigh them, and what he thought? He thought, how should I weigh them? I need an iron balance. And he decided to go and ask his friend Ratan if he has the balance. Raju went to Ratan's house. Why Raju went to Ratan's house? To ask Ratan if he has the iron balance. He asked Ratan if he had the iron scale. Ratan said, yes, I have. Raju said, please let me borrow the iron scale. I need to weigh the grains. What Raju said to Ratan? Please let me borrow the iron scale. I need to weigh the grains. He asked Ratan's iron balance. Why? Because Raju need to weigh the grains. And Raju said, I will return it to you tomorrow. Ratan gave him the iron scale. So when Raju asked for the iron scale, Ratan gave it to Raju. Why? Because Raju wants to weigh the grains. One day Ratan needed the balance. He went to Raju's house. He said, Raju, please return the balance. I need it urgently. One day what happened? Ratan needed the balance. So Ratan went to Raju's house and asked to return the balance. He went to Raju's house and said to Raju to return the balance. Why? Because Ratan needed it urgently. When Ratan said to Raju to return the balance, what Raju said? Raju said, I am sorry. The cat and dog in my house have eaten up the iron balance. When Ratan went to Raju's house and asked the iron balance, what Raju said? Raju said that, I am sorry, the cat and dog in my house have eaten up the iron balance. I cannot return it to you. So why Raju said the cat and dog in my house have eaten up the iron balance? Because Raju don't want to return the iron balance to Ratan. So Raju made a story and told Ratan that the cat and dog in his house have eaten up the iron balance. And Raju said, I cannot return it to you. Also Raju said, give me some days, I will buy a new one for you. So when Raju did not want to return the iron balance to Ratan, Ratan was very upset and angry. And Ratan thought, how can a cat and a rat eat up an iron balance? So Ratan was very upset. Ratan realized that Raju had cheated me. He went home and sat quietly for some time. So he went back to his home and he sat quietly. He thought of an idea to teach Raju a lesson. as Raju was cheating him by not returning his iron balance, what Ratan thought? Ratan thought an idea to teach a lesson to Raju. Why? Because Raju is cheating Ratan. That the cat and dog in his house have eaten up the iron balance. Next day, Ratan again went to Raju's house and said, I am going for some work to another village. Will you please send your son with me? Raju said. But why do you want my son to accompany you? Ratan said. Your son is very good in calculations. He will help me to calculate the rate of things that I will buy faster. Raju called his son and told him to go with Ratan. So Ratan thought an idea to teach Raju a lesson. So the next day, Ratan again went to Raju's house with the idea. And Ratan said to Raju that I am going for some work to another village. Also Ratan asked Raju to send Raju's son with him. And what Raju said? When Ratan said, I am going for some work to another village, will you please send your son with me? Then what Raju said? Raju said that, why do you want my son to go with you? And Ratan said, your son is very good in calculation. He will help me calculate the rate of things that I will buy faster. So Raju called his son and told him to go with Ratan to the market. Day passed and night came. Raju's son did not return. Raju got worried. When Raju's son did not return home, Raju got worried and Raju went to Ratan's house and asked Ratan about his son. And when Raju asked Ratan about his son, that his son did not return home, then what Ratan said? Ratan replied in the same way how Raju replied. That is, I am sorry, my friend, a vulture carried away your son. I was about to come and tell you about the incident. And what Raju said? Raju said, how can a vulture carry my grown-up son? And what Ratan replied? In the same way as the cat and dog can eat up an iron balance, replied Ratan. So just like before, in the same way, how Raju cheated Ratan, Ratan thought of an idea to teach Raju a lesson. So Ratan replied that a vulture carried away your son. I was about to come and tell you about this incident. And what Raju said, how can a vulture carry my grown-up son? When Raju said, how can a vulture carry my grown-up son? And what Ratan replied? Ratan replied that in the same way as the cat and dog can eat up an iron balance, replied Ratan, which is not possible. So Raju realized his mistake and went back home. He got the iron balance and returned it back to Ratan. Ratan too in return sent back his son home. So when Ratan said that in the same way as the cat and dog can eat up an iron balance, so a vulture carried away your son. After that, Raju realized his mistake, that he cheated Ratan and went back home. And Raju went back home and got the iron balance for Ratan and returned it back to Ratan. At the same time, Ratan also in return sent back his son home. The moral of this story is always treat everyone fairly. So dear children, being fair means being good to others. We should be good to others. We must think of other people and give them what is theirs. So we should not take others' thing. We must think about them, and whatever we borrow or take from others, we should return it back. We should give them back what is theirs. We should not become selfish. When we become selfish, we become unfair. We should be fair. That is, we should be good to others. We make others unhappy in this way. Happiness comes from being fair to all. Whatever we borrow from others, we should return it back. If we don't return others' belongings, what happens? We make others unhappy. So we should not behave like that. We should be fair. We should be fair, good to others. Next, exercises 1. Discuss the following in class. A. Why did Raju borrow the iron scale? The answer is, Raju borrowed the iron scale to weigh the grains which he bought from the market. Raju borrowed the iron scale. Why? Because he bought grains from the market and he wanted to weigh the grains. B. What did Raju tell Ratan when he asked for the iron scale? The answer is, Raju told Ratan that he cannot return the iron balance as the cat and dog in his house have eaten up the iron balance. So Raju borrowed iron scale from Ratan. But when Ratan asked for the iron scale back, what Raju told? Raju cheated Ratan. Raju don't want to return the iron scale back to Ratan and told that he cannot return the iron balance as the cat and dog in his house have eaten up the iron balance. C. What did Ratan decide to do? When Raju cheated him, he went home and sat quietly and decided to teach a lesson to Raju. So when Raju cheated him, when Raju refused to return the iron scale back to Ratan, what Ratan did? Ratan went home and he sat quietly, and Ratan decided to teach a lesson to Raju. D. What reason did Ratan give for taking Raju's son? Ratan said to Raju that he is going for some work to another village and asked Raju's son to accompany and help Ratan to calculate the rate of things. So when Ratan decided to teach a lesson to Raju, what Ratan did? Ratan said to Raju that he is going for work to another village and Ratan asked Raju's son to go along with him and help Ratan to calculate the rate of things, whatever he buy from the market. E. What did Raju realize in the end? In the end, Raju realized his mistake and went back home. Means when Ratan taught a lesson to Raju, in the end, what happened? In the end, Raju realized his mistake and went back home. 2. Write T for true statements and F for false statements. A. Raju and Ratan were friends. Yes, the statement is true. B. Raju wanted the iron balance to weigh the vegetables. It is false. Why? Because Raju wanted the iron balance to weigh grains. C. Raju wanted the iron balance after work. Yes, it is true. Why? Because Raju wanted the iron balance after work and he did not return the iron balance and told Ratan that the cat and dog in his house have eaten up the iron balance. He don't want to return it back, so he wanted the iron balance even after the work. D. Ratan took Raju's son with him. Yes, it is true. Why Ratan took Raju's son with him? To teach a lesson to Raju. E. It is important to be fair to all. Yes, it is true. We should be fair to all. It is very important. Next 3. Take the right answer. A. Ratan and Raju were friends, enemies. Ratan and Raju were friends. Take friends. B. Ratan Raju said that the iron balance was eaten by a cat. So, who said that the iron balance was eaten by a cat? Raju said to Ratan. C. Raju was trying to help Ratan. Raju was trying to cheat Ratan by not returning Ratan's iron scale. D. Ratan requested Raju to send his son, daughter with him. Ratan requested Raju to send his son, to the market. E. Ratan said that Raju's son was carried by an eagle vulture. What Ratan said to Raju? That his son, Raju's son, was carried by a vulture. Take vulture. So dear children, I hope you understood about this lesson and exercises. In our next class, we will discuss lesson 5. Thank you. Have a nice day.